The Terrifying Lies Podcast, with music and stories by Craig Nybo. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Terrifying Lies Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Nybo. Man, it's good to be back and spending more time with you. Above it all, I hope you're doing great out there. I hope you're accomplishing great things, spending quality time with friends and family, and are finding peace in a world that could be so treacherous. Welcome to the Terrifying Lies Podcast. I'm here to entertain you. But first, a quick piece of business. If you love the podcast, please consider backing the show by visiting my Patreon. The link is in the episode description. Based on your backer level, you can get every episode, every song, and even extra material hot off the press. I release episodes commercial-free, commentary-free, almost the moment I finish recording them. Now, let's get on with it, shall we? Today's episode introduces something somewhat autobiographical. If you've been listening, two bands are officially on the playbill at the Pan-galactic Prom Show. Slink Arrowheart, the Slorak host, booked the Poison Nickels, an ice beetle group of revolutionaries who play experimental instruments, and none other than Funk Toast as the headliner. Funk Toast is, or rather was, a real band in which I played bass guitar and sang. We played a lot of gigs back in the 90s and had tons of fun. Several years ago, we got back together for a couple of reunion shows. As part of the hype, I came up with new fictional character sketches for each member of the band. I found the sketches so fun that I decided to write a science fiction adventure for these guys. Now, the characters in the story have absolutely no relationship to us as real people, other than our names. But it was fun to rehash some of those old times in a comedy sci-fi setting. Funk Toast makes an appearance in today's episode. Also, like the Poison Nickels, they have their own arc, separate from what is unfolding for Twana, Bieber, Mindy Lee, and Butch in Bieber's Finger. You're going to get a glimpse of where these stories touch in this episode. But Funk Toast's story isn't Bieber's story. Who knows? If I'm so inclined, I might give you the entire Funk Toast story in another season of Terrifying Lies. Well, that's enough chatter. Let's get into the story. I'll see you on the other side. This story is entitled Rock and Roll and Resurrection, Bieber's Finger, Part 12 of 13. Twana looked up at Butch, her lips pinched, her eyebrows furrowed.
What's he doing? Bieber's supposed to headline the show,
she said. Butch put a hand on Twana's shoulder.
I wouldn't worry. If Arrowheart is anything, he's sly. He knows he has a trick in his pocket. And he knows that when he reveals that trick, that it's gonna send a crowd into fits.
Twana folded her arms over her chest and shot Mindy Lee a glance. Mindy Lee reflected the same doubt right back at Twana. Both girls moved in closer to Bieber. They settled in, one on each side of the clone, and put their arms around him at the small of his back. The Funk Toast band hit the stage like a bomb. Immediately, Twana's misgivings about their ability to rescue the show from the Poison Nickels' damage blew away as they kicked off their opening groove. A 70s disco sound with horns, a funky bass line, and plenty of slam on the backbeats. Funk Toast had been touring the galaxy for a while. Venue by venue, they built up a diverse following. As disconcerting as it was to Twana, the vast majority of the crowd had come to see the Funk Toast band, not Bieber. The place thumped with new energy. A push from the back of the Grand Hall Arena threatened to crush those at the front. A mob of enormous bouncers, each of them wearing impressive sets of antlers, went to work, shoving the crowd back, pointing and threatening, even dragging occasional fans out of the jam and escorting them out of the hall through a channel between the stage and a set of crowd barricades. Seeing what was happening in the crowd, the front man of Funk Toast stopped the music. He stepped to the microphone with a smile. The rest of the band eyed him with suspicion and perhaps a little animosity. became clear to Twana that politics in the band were dicey at best. "Greetings to all of you from across the stars," the front man said. The crowd cheered, some thumping the ground with hooves and slappy bare feet, some waving their stick-like appendages. "We are honored to be part of the biggest, coolest party in the galaxy." More cheering. "And we want you to know that we come in peace." More cheering. The drummer in the band wound a stick around in a get-on-with-it gesture. "We don't want anybody hurt here. We've noticed that the bouncers are working double time, so we ask that you dance, shout, and stomp all you want. But please don't crowd or push. We want everyone to have a good time." The crowd roared out their approval. Funk Toast's lead singer gave the drummer a nod, and the band went off into one of their biggest hits, "I'm Leavin'," a hard driving blues joint with lots of guitar. Butch's feet started moving. He couldn't help it. The groove got under his skin somehow. He'd heard the song on the radio and liked it. Something about hearing it live caused him to start tapping along. His tapping turned into a little shuffle. Then he found himself dancing, bobbing his head, leaning into the groove. He looked up and found that Bieber was on the same wavelength, dancing to the music. The two guys smiled at each other. Bieber put up a hand and Butch slapped him a 5. Twana watched Bieber and Butch dance, a look of disapproval on her face. She folded her arms and shook her head. The two boys ignored her and went on with their gyrating. Before Bieber could help it, he opened his palms, bent his knees, and went into the funky monkey. Twana's eyes went wide. To that point, the clone had passed seamlessly as an incognito member of the crowd, another faceless fan of the Pan-galactic Prom Show. But as he went off into one of his signature moves, it was like his whole body lit up. It was as if he became Bieber. Twana glanced around at the surrounding crowd and noticed a pair of Earth girls, both wearing black t-shirts with slogans mourning Bieber. The two girls watched the clone dance, their brows furrowed as they whispered back and forth at each other. They began to push through the crowd toward Bieber. Twana intercepted them just before they reached the clone. She smiled and put a hand on each of the girls' shoulders.
Hey, I'm Twana. It sure blows that we have to sit through this crap tonight instead of Bieber.
Twana thumbed over her shoulder toward the stage. One of the girls raised a slender hand and pointed at the clone.
I know.
Twana shrugged her shoulders and smirked.
He's the spitting image. He's an impersonator and a friend of mine. He planned to come along to study the real live Bieber, to help refine his act. And I guess that's not gonna happen.
The two girls smiled and relaxed, relieved. Twana spent a minute talking with them, shouting over Funk Toast's music, voicing her outrage about the terrible crime against pop culture Brendan Nix had caused by killing Bieber. In the end, she sent the girls away, both of them in tears. Twana grabbed Bieber's elbow. He stopped dancing and smiled at her. She fixed him with a concerned look.
You need to stop with the Bieber moves.
The clone knitted his eyebrows.
You're drawing attention. I hate to say it, but until Arrowheart makes his announcement, you need to stop being so Bieber.
The clone mouthed the word, "Sorry." Twana smiled and let go of his elbow. Bieber turned toward the stage. The Funk Toast band had just kicked up a new song called Evolution. He couldn't get enough of their sound. He danced, but kept the Bieber move shelved for the moment. The prom show rocked on. Funk Toast's vamps filled the hall from floor to rafters, causing all to move in sequence to the grooves. Everyone gyrated on the dance floor to Funk Toast's psychopsionic grooves. The Crimpanians swung with the Zolanians, the elven folk of Borlam 16 jibed with the Ardasians of Promonus 4. The jumbo plasma display blew the band up larger than life. Techs in the AV booth high above the venue switched from camera to camera. Then, the lights went out. All of the sound died with them. Members of the audience shot one another confused glances in the dim, at first wondering if the sudden death in light and sound was part of the show. A host of fans peeled out of the crowd. They reached down to their belts and adjusted devices hanging at their waists. With a popping sound, they morphed, stuttering into something else.
What's going on?
Twana said, as the rest of the crowd murmured in confusion. After a series of crackles and blips, more than 20 Malekian demons appeared. They moved into a cordoning formation around the crowd and planted their staffs, wieldy electronic apparatuses, in the floor. They aligned sensors in the staff's heads toward one another and turned them on. A ring of energy appeared, attaching staff to staff around the crowd like a glowing band of light. The jumbo screen above the stage blinked to life. A new face appeared, fearsome and pointy-eared, one eye covered with a steel patch. The creature leered down at the crowd. Some of the audience recognized him. A name whispered from voice to voice. Nolar Jax, people said with fear.
Who's Nolar Jax?
Twana asked.
I have no idea,
said Butch.
I'm no devil.
Nolar said, his face peeling into a smile.
I'm merely a businessman, and, might I add, a huge Funk Toast fan.
Nolar laughed, several long, patient chortles.
I'm in this only as a friendly gesture as one of Funk Toast's biggest fans. Please accept my hospitality. I invite you to visit us on my home planet, Jar.
An enormous ship moved over the open roof of the Grand Hall Arena, blocking out the entirety of space with its girth. The mark of Nolar Jax, a planet squashed in a sinewy fist, was painted on its belly in black and red. Everyone looked at each other, exchanging glances of fear. Somewhere in the background, Slink Arrowheart fled. He wanted headlines. Headlines he'd get, but not at the cost of his own safety. Nolar fixed the crowd with a look that caused every heart in the Grand Hall Arena to freeze. Butch jockeyed his way around Bieber and the girls and placed himself between them and the uniformed demons who had surrounded the crowd. He spread his arms protectively and kept his eyes on the closest of the creatures. The demons seemed to function on a collective consciousness. They kept exactly in step. This Nolar Jax, his face so enormous on the jumbo screen, had taken racketeering to a level Butch had never imagined. Jax made Orlando DePescio seem like a lightweight.
Gas them,
he said. All of the red uniform-clad creatures raised their right boots in unison and slammed them down, creating a resounding thunk throughout the venue. Gas hissed from their staves. Butch pulled the front of his shirt up over his mouth and nose. He wheeled around to his sister and the others.
They're gassing us. Try to hold your breath.
Twana, Mindy Lee, and Bieber pulled their shirts up over their faces. Twana looked up at Butch, her eyes pleading. Butch put a hand on her shoulder and nodded reassuringly. He didn't know what was going to happen, but there was no use worrying Twana. He would do everything in his power to protect her, but his power had limitations. The gas settled over the crowd. Butch hoped Jax intended to put the crowd to sleep, not to kill them, but from Jax's menacing glare on the big screen, Butch knew there were no guarantees. One by one, Twana, Mindy Lee, and Bieber collapsed after being forced to take in wafts of poisoned air. They crumpled to the floor under the influence of the gas. Butch held on a little longer, watching creatures from distant worlds lose consciousness and hit the deck. In the end, Butch had to take a breath. The air burned his lungs and raced straight to his head. His vision reduced to a tunnel, then a pinprick. Then he lost the battle and slumped down to the floor. When the house lights flicked on, the colindrome seemed different without all the smoke lasers and particolored tracers. Butch woke up, nursing a new headache, wincing against the light. Most of the crowd was also waking. Moaning creatures sprawled out all over the dance floor, holding their heads. The Malekian demons had generated a crackling force field around the dance floor. They'd planted their staves in the ground. The devices worked like relaying beacons for a band of energy that ran from staff to staff in a corral that encircled the mobs of creatures who had, by their own recollection, just moments ago, been dancing to the grooves of the Funk Toast band.
Malekian demons.
Someone near Butch uttered the words like they were profanity.
Who invited them to the party?
But most of the Malekian demons had departed the Grand Hall Arena. At first, Butch thought they'd left the crowd to their own devices, but then he saw one of them up on stage. The Malekian demon stood spookily still, not flinching, not speaking, seemingly not even breathing. Slink Arrowheart sat tied to a chair next to the demon, unconscious.
What happened?
Mindy Lee said as she woke up.
Oh, my head.
She balled up her fists and put them to her temples. Butch put a hand on her shoulder.
Don't worry. We're gonna be okay.
Mindy Lee looked up at the stage.
Where's the band? Who's that?
We're hostages.
Butch said.
I don't think they're gonna hurt us. Jex must see us as valuable, at least for now.
Bieber and Twana stirred awake, both of them holding their heads.
Stay by me, no matter what happens. Stay by me.
Butch said. Slink began to come around. The demons had placed a microphone next to his mouth. As he came to, he uttered a long refrain of intricately crafted profanity under his breath, peppered with,
"My head, what in the name of bestial?
and
These people think they're entitled to a refund. They have another thing coming."
before Slink ended his rant, the Malekian demon standing over him came to life. It seemed as if someone had switched the creature on. It pounded its staff on the platform several times, creating resounding booms that echoed throughout the Grand Hall arena, causing everyone to cover their ears and moan out their own variations of "Please stop the infernal noise." The demon spoke up.
My most sincere greetings, life forms of the Pan-galactic Prom Show. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Number 6. I urge you to remain calm and stay away from the force field. The relay units you see placed in roughly a circular pattern around you are called string blinkers. Should you make contact with an energy string, you will find your ability to move, or to breathe, or to live severely impaired. If you follow my directions, I can guarantee a 63% chance of survival.
Butch searched for a break in the stream. Twana didn't like the cogitating look in her brother's eye.
Cool it, Butch. I think we just need to listen.
Twana said. Butch ignored his sister and continued scanning the room.
To demonstrate our tendency to utilize what you refer to as brutality in our methods, I shall engage a much reduced version of string blinker energy on this Slorak.
"No, no, no!"
Slink said. Number 6 pushed a button on the side of his staff. A sputtering blue spark issued from the end of the device. He drove it into Slink's chest. Slink winced and leaned sideways in his chair, his eyes pressed closed, both of his mouths moving in a series of randomly fired muscle twitches. Number 6 shut down his energy staff and looked out into the crowd. Slink took in graceless gulps of air after the Malekian demon ceased his torture.
"Look, man, what do you want?"
Slink said.
We only want you to conform to our orders. We only want you to remain quiet.
Number 6 said.
"I got money, loads of it. I could put pallets full in your ship and send you away a rich little Malekian demon. You could buy all the fancy sparklers you want."
Slink said.
We only want you to conform to our orders.
Number 6 raised his string blinker.
We only want you to remain quiet.
"Hey, my lips are sealed, man."
Slink said. Number 6 struck a tall, imposing pose, holding his staff to his side. He froze in position, as if someone had switched him off. Everyone gawked in silence. Only the crackle of the string blinker band broke the absolute hush. Hours slurped by one after the other. The Colindrome Grand Hall Arena remained, with the exception of occasional sobs from a few creatures who had lost hope, quiet. The prom show crowd lay in brambles and messes on the limited floor space, trying to find comfort any way they could. It was getting late. Some of the creatures managed to snatch pockets of restless sleep. They used each other as pillows, trying to find a form of amenity on the hard floor. Number 6 hadn't said a word since delivering his initial instructions. He stood on stage, leaning against his string blinker, motionless. Slink snored in long drawls of slurpy clatter and snapping, slumbering, half slumped over in his chair next to Number 6. Butch watched the perimeter, just inside the string blinker field, looking for a way to escape. The Malekian demons had been thorough. Each string blinker acted as a relay for the energy band. The field issued heat and a menacing crackle that set Butch's nerves on end. It had taken at least 20 Malekian demons to entrap the Grand Hall arena and secure the hostages. Now, most of the demons were gone. Butch counted only 5 left behind to guard the prisoners. There was number 6, who stood motionless on stage next to Slink, and 4 others, 2 inside the string blinker field, probably to control the masses, and 2 outside the field. All 5 of them stood locked in identical poses, staffs at their sides. Butch walked to one of the Malekian demon's sentries. The creature stood only about 5 feet tall. Like its counterparts, it wore red from head to toe and a hot-colored helmet. A pair of horns jutting from its head through 2 ports in the hard plastic. A visor covered its eyes. The rest of its exposed face almost appeared to be fabricated in plastic. Butch waved a hand in front of the Malekian demon's eyes. The creature didn't move. Slowly, Butch extended a finger and reached out to touch the Malekian demon.
I wouldn't do that if I was you,
someone said. The voice came from one of the Colindrome bouncers, a large creature, all muscle and antlers.
He'll drop you like a Fenchian Gilderblatt.
Butch didn't know what a Fenchian Gilderblatt was, but he got the gist of the bouncer's sentiment.
Best to just keep it cool.
Where did it come from?
Butch said.
Their planet was destroyed by Nolar Jex.
The bouncer said, nodding toward the jumbo screen where Jex had made his appearance.
They live on Char now, Jex's base of operations. They're his slave army.
Butch walked around the creature, inspecting its staff. The device looked simple enough, just 4 buttons on a center grip, probably different power emission settings.
What if I could get its fancy stick?
Butch asked.
What would you do with it?
Butch nodded toward the string blinker field encircling the audience of hostages.
It's some kind of relay device. If I can get my hands on it, I think I might be able to short out the force field.
Hey man, it's yours, Dan.
Butch tapped his fist against his thigh as he tried to weigh the consequences of taking action. He looked up at number 6, standing on stage next to Slink. He looked at the other Malekian demons in and out of the string blinker field, locked like statues with their staffs at their sides.
I'll help you,
a short creature said, vined in long fur, so thoroughly covered with the stuff that Butch couldn't make out its features.
Who are you?
Butch asked.
Ask anybody. I could fight like a mother. If anyone's gonna take down a Malekian demon, it's me.
He's a Tanzanian schleg,
the bouncer said.
He's nothing but trouble, trust me.
Says you, hammerhead.
The spark of electricity crawled up the bouncer's antlers like a Jacob's ladder.
If you think you have a chance against one of those things, be my guest. He'll chew you up and spit you out like a fur ball.
Make you a move,
the schleg said, nodding toward Butch and toward the Malekian demon. Butch walked around the demon, scoping out every inch of it, exploring it for weaknesses. The demon was humanoid, had knees, had elbows, had a neck, had 2 arms, and it had a head. All of the familiar parts that Butch could bend or break. Butch stopped directly in front of the Malekian demon. He looked over at the schleg. The schleg nodded back at him. Butch took a deep breath, then grabbed the demon's staff with both hands and jerked backward. The demon sparked to life, sudden energy and color filling its face. Butch wrestled for the string blinker, but the demon possessed unexpected strength. It held the staff fast with one hand while raising its jack boot to kick Butch away. The schleg exploded into a fit of hair, fists, claws, and feet. It seemed to roll like a furry wrecking ball into action. It hit the demon in the knees, driving it back a pair of steps. The bouncer shrugged his shoulders and said something in its native language, a guttural word, probably a naughty one. It hunched over and aimed its antlers at the demon. The antlers sparked to life as the bouncer charged. The schleg held the demon's ankles together with its monkey legs and launched a volley of solid punches into the creature's crotch. The bouncer made unyielding contact with the demon's torso. Everyone tumbled over each other. The demon finally let go of its staff. The device clattered to the ground. With the demon down, the bouncer drove its antlers into the creature again and again, discharging bursts of electricity with every strike. The schleg sat on top of the demon's knees and struck with a flurry of blows and scratches. Butch regained his wits and spotted the staff lying just a few feet away. He caught movement in the corner of his eye. He looked up in time to see another Malekian demon coming at him. He snatched up the staff. The device felt heavier than he expected, as if it was loaded with metal and technology. The everything hummed in his hand, issuing a slight vibration. Butch ran toward the nearest of the string blinker relays. As he closed in, he settled his fingers on the 4 buttons in the staff's center grip. He knew that the other demon would be on him in seconds. He had only one chance to short-circuit the force field. He hoped the hostages had enough steel to do the rest. Butch skidded to a stop just short of running into the crackling energy band. He looked over his shoulder. The demon was almost in striking distance. Not knowing which button to push, he rammed what he thought was the business end of the staff into the energy bands and pressed all 4. The whole area exploded into a ball of electricity and crackling light. Butch felt his body leave the ground and fly backwards. He lost his grip on the staff in a flailing panic. He came down hard on his shoulder, heard something snap inside and felt a spear of pain run him through the core. He pushed up to one elbow, wincing in agony. He spotted the Malekian demon coming after him. The alien hooked up the fallen staff and moved like a robot. Butch looked back at the Schleg and the bouncer. Their Malekian demon opponent used a handful of tactically placed blows to slam them into submission. It punched the bouncer in the chest, driving him back a half dozen steps. The bouncer stumbled over his own hoofs and collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. The demon kicked the Schleg. The furry alien creature rolled away, careening over prom fans gathered at the perimeter of the skirmish. The Schleg settled into a motionless ball amidst a group of green creatures with large eyes and nothing but slits for mouths. The creatures murmured a chorus of high-pitched whines as they cowered away from the Schleg. Butch attempted to stand up, but before he could make it to his feet, the other demon was on him. It raised one of its staffs, punched in a quick combination on the 4-button keypad, and brought the tip of the staff down on Butch. Electric pain racked his entire body. He lost consciousness.
Lights flash, engines roar. Take my hand, we're out the door. Gravity can't hold us down. We're sky high, lost and found. Aliens creeping in the dark, but love's our shield, we'll leave a mark. Through the stars we ride the night. Side by side we're burning bright. Hear the sirens call, but we'll never fall. Fire up the posters, baby, hold on tight. We're dancing through the galaxies tonight. Laser beams, cosmic dreams, nothing stopping you and me. Supernova, high school life, fighting through the endless sky.
truly enjoyed composing this song. Sometimes I like to start with the skeleton and build onto the bones. This was the case in this song. I started with a melody only. I played down what I thought would work on the keyboard, wrote lyrics, and sang them over that melody. Then, piece by piece, I added electronic drums, synths, rhythm elements, backup vocals, vocoder, guitar. I kept layering on until it felt complete. I like the changing groove from the verses to the halftime choruses. I hope you enjoyed the tune. Only one more of this style yet for me to write. Then I'm quitting the boy band. Heck, I probably belong in a man band anyway. The song is entitled We're Orbiting in Love Right Now. Wow, we're here again. Only one more episode of this season yet to come. I truly am honored to have you along. Every time you listen, I can picture you in my mind. It's like we're all friends sitting around a campfire, trying to outscare each other with our terrifying tales. Thanks for coming to the party. Remember to leave a positive review for the podcast wherever you listen. And always remember, I'm sending peace and love to you every day. I hope you can feel it. Until next time, I bid you sweet dreams, or should I say, sweet nightmares.
This has been the Terrifying Lies podcast. Please come again. You're welcome here.